Yeah, of course.
Because I mean, we can go live. Why don't we go live? And
Okay.
Murph, we'll just go ahead and if Charlie pops in, he'll pop in. All right?
Yeah.
Sound like a plan.
That sounds
Wrestling
great.
with the Future Radio Network presents What's the Buzz?
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, Los Angeles. Good evening, New York City. And the rest of the country, how the hell are you? This is Mad Dog DeCipio. Welcome to Wrestling with the Future presents What's the Buzz? You heard me tonight. A very special episode of Wrestling with the Future. Let me introduce my co-host to you. She is the Pitbull herself, Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman. How are you, Amelia?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm waiting for another guest to get here, but I think he took a left at Albuquerque. Him and Bugs Bunny.
Right.
Well, let me introduce the gentleman who did show up tonight. He joined us Tuesday. His name is Michael Armageddon Murphy. Michael is a former pro wrestler. How you doing, Mike? I realized the other night, Michael.
What's that?
You and I have known each other for 24 years.
Yep. It's a long time.
God bless me.
Just fuck me, right?
We're not 5 minutes into the show and Murph drops in that bomb. Well, that's okay, Murph. We did issue a disclaimer at the beginning of the show. By the way, the show that we did on Marilyn the other night, Marilyn Monroe, it got age restricted on YouTube.
Oh my goodness!
The best
Really?
thing that could happen for us, because every time they age restrict our videos, more people go to watch them.
Probably said, "Mom, what's your password so I can watch this?"
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What's your password? I want to get in here.
Right.
Well, we're giving the kids a history lesson.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
history's going away in a lot of classrooms nowadays.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to bring Amelia right to front and center here. Amelia, what do you know? Let's put it this way. Before I even ask you what you know, what do you remember about the night Chris Benoit, or the announcement that Chris Benoit may have been the suspect here? What were you doing when you heard that first announcement?
Actually, I was watching wrestling that night. That was the days when
Were
I
you
was
really?
watching wrestling.
Wow. Okay. And so what was your initial, your visceral
shock?
response? Were
I
you
was in
shock?
shock. I was like, Chris Benoit, of all people, would do something like that.
I know.
I was a wrestling fan of his, and I was like, he, of all people, would actually do something like that to someone that he really loved and adored. But of course, I don't know what goes behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Because, of course, in the front center, you could see how much he loved his wife. Persona, you could see, on camera,
Yeah.
and how much he loved his son. But, somebody like that who had everything,
Yeah.
the world, the life, the
It
life.
was is it fair to say it was a shock to the system?
It was a shock to me, and it was a shock
It
to a lot of my
almost
family members.
seemed, in some odd, bizarre way, it almost seemed like surreal, like Bizarro World. Mike Murphy, let me bring you in over here. You and I have visited this subject previously on Wrestling with the Future.
Quite a couple times, yeah.
Yeah, and we had at the time very compelling evidence from people in the business as well as our special guest that night regarding what could have or may have happened. Some very as close to firsthand information as we could get at the time. We're
Absolutely.
revisiting this case. It's been for people in wrestling, for people in the business, wrestlers and promoters like myself and you. It came as a disbelief moment. It was almost like, okay, where's the work? Okay, where's the work here?
Right, exactly.
You know? So
Exactly.
talk to me, brother.
Well, I found out about it on a Monday morning. I had done a show Saturday night. I was home all day Sunday. Monday morning, I was leaving for work, and I had gotten a text message from another wrestler, and it said, "Call me when you get a chance. Benoit is dead."
Yeah.
And I was I almost dropped my cell phone. I was in total shock.
Yeah.
I would say, numb.
That's an interesting word. That's an interesting word, Mike, because I will tell you, I had that same feeling. I was quite jarred from it.
Yeah.
Because I'd seen Chris Benoit wrestle. In fact, he wrestled Eddie Guerrero not long before that at a house show in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's see, I want to say probably, I want to say like a year before that, which for, the Philadelphia market, they come here maybe once every year, every 2 years.
Yeah, something like once or twice every couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were at the Philadelphia Wells Fargo Center.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. They were at the Philadelphia Spectrum.
The Spectrum, yeah.
The Spectrum was still around at the time, and I saw them there, and it was maybe just, I want to say maybe 10 months, 11 months, maybe, and then this happened.
Yeah.
And it was right around a year, 10, 11 months, right around a year. And I thought to myself, something ain't right. Something's not right about this. It didn't feel, and I hate to use my promoter's hat, but it didn't feel legit. It felt like I felt like I was being worked.
Yeah.
I felt like I was being worked.
Right. Because as days went on, I'd say within 2, 3, 4 days after the first initial announcement,
yeah,
more information started coming out, and they didn't know if it was an overzealous fan. Did he do it himself? Roid rage. Yeah. Everything started getting thrown around. And the more I heard and the more evidence they put out, the more it just didn't sound right to me. Something seemed off about the whole thing.
Mike, we have something from the audience for you. But first, Slaw says, Amelia, that's a cute puppy.
Oh, thank you. That was my Yorkie. She just came in the room.
I felt like Slaw was doing a Jerry Lawler there for a moment with the puppies. So I want you to respond to this, Mike, because I think you and I have discussed this before. So, Slaw, I'm going to address this. I'm going to have Murphy address this. Benoit always seemed like a psychopath to me. He was always angry, and he did that gesture of slitting someone's throat. He used to do this bit, remember?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so address I Want My Slaw. By the way, I Want My Slaw is a regular viewer and listener to the show. He's a really great guy and asked a lot of good questions. So talk to Slaw about his question and comment here.
Well, as far as him looking like a psychopath, that was actually part of his persona in the ring.
His
he
gimmick.
Was the what they called toothless aggression, the Wolverine,
Sure.
And the doing this, I can't count on my hands and have fingers left over how many wrestlers have done that, from guys in the indie circuit to the Undertaker
Brother,
to
the Undertaker made a career of this.
yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of the show. I mean, you do so.
Well,
You shouldn't
here's the
hand
thing
people out to
too.
the crowd. That's it. I'm done
But,
with this guy. I'm
but
going to play.
Murph, Chris used to get into it. He used to like pull that thumb back and go. He used to like really sell it.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
right there, that like you said, he was selling it.
Yeah, he would sell it. Here's the thing now, and we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of this case. I want to tell everybody we are waiting for former pro wrestler and a good friend of the show, Charlie Thunderfoot Norris, to join us. He was a friend of Chris Benoit. He knew Chris Benoit. He wrestled with Chris Benoit. He is Charlie is a former professional wrestler of legendary status, and we are waiting for him to arrive. Here's the thing, and we have to talk about this with people. Chris Benoit double murder suicide occurred allegedly over a 3-day period, probably more like 2 days, but we're going to go with 3 because that's the official. The official narrative is 3 days, but it's looking more and more like 2 days. Benoit allegedly killed his wife, Nancy Benoit, strangled his 7-year-old son, Daniel, and subsequently committed suicide by hanging, allegedly. We have to say allegedly, because there's no proof that he did any of this. No forensic proof whatsoever. Autopsy results allegedly show that Benoit first murdered his wife, Nancy. She was bound at the feet and wrist and died of asphyxiation sometime on that Friday. She was wrapped in a towel, some say a blanket, and had some blood. And some blood was found under her head. But Mr. Ballard, Sloan Ballard, said there was no other signs of a struggle. I will show you forensic photos taken by the police that tell a very different story. There are people who had the chutzpah to request Freedom of Information Act requests for photos, and guess what? They gave them to him. And we have them. Chris Benoit allegedly placed copies of the Bible alongside the bodies of his wife and son, as well as a third copy of the Bible on his weightlifting bench. The couple's son, Daniel, died from asphyxia. He was strangled. He was apparently killed as he lay in bed on that Saturday morning, hours before Benoit committed suicide by hanging himself in his weight room. Now, Mike, don't give away the puppy with the bathwater just yet, because I'm going to ask you, have you personally ever used an incline pulley weight machine?
Yes, I have.
How tall are you, Mike?
5'11".
How tall is the machine, Mike?
I'd say about 6 foot, 6.5, give or take a couple.
That would be about right. Okay, and I wanted to point that out because you and Chris Benoit are exactly the same size. Chris was 5'11". He was long upper body, shorter legs. Michael Murphy is equally proportioned body to legs. Here's the interesting part. Chris Benoit is not in the WWE Hall of Fame, despite an amazing and illustrious career. That career included winning the World Heavyweight Championship in 2004. Chris Benoit will likely never be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Fans say, and here's what we're going to get into. Amelia, I want you to jump on this afterward.
Yes.
Fans say this shows a strange bias against Benoit, as others like Sonny, X-Pac, and China are all current Hall of Famers. Since Benoit's suicide, alleged suicide, numerous explanations for his action have been proposed, including concussion, steroid abuse, CTE, failing marriage. These murders led to a sensational media speculation everywhere you turned. Every television station you put on was all of a sudden wrestling was front and center as the I told you so media were literally trying to get wrestling banned from the air.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not making this up, folks. Murphy, tell me if I'm
anybody who's in the
bullshit.
business knows it.
Yeah.
Here's a fact check. We checked it. Fact check. Finding was true. Benoit missed the weekend house shows, telling WWE officials that his wife and son were vomiting blood due to food poisoning. Stop right there. Hold the presses. This came out a week ago, about 4 days ago, excuse me, which was one of the reasons we scheduled the Benoit show for tonight. It is absolutely true that was the text from Chris Benoit's phone.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Chris was smart enough to know that food poisoning will not make you vomit blood.
No, it will
How
not.
do I know this? Because I have a list in front of me, literally right now, a list in front of me of things that will make you vomit blood, and food poisoning or food in general is nowhere on the list.
No.
It mentions aspirin, benign tumors, acute liver failure, esophageal cancer, gastric varices, gastritis, pancreatitis, pancreatic cancer, peptic ulcers. The list goes on. There's literally like 30 things on this list.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But nowhere does it say food poisoning.
Exactly.
So whoever wrote this and sent it to WWE, I do not believe was Chris Benoit. I think Chris would know better because everyone knows he was a health food junkie. He was a health fanatic. Everybody knew this. Everybody knows this who knows the situation. I don't think anybody could have known other than perhaps Benoit himself. Perhaps himself.
What was the date on that text?
I will tell you right now. That was Friday evening. That was Friday evening. He's scheduled to do a house show on Saturday. That's the house show he never showed up for. That's the house show that Chavo Guerrero allegedly called him and left a machine message. Hey, buddy, where are you? Are you en route to the arena? Where they were supposed to be. Where the hell were they? In Baltimore?
I believe so. They were supposed to be in that area.
I think they were in Baltimore that night. Because Benoit lived in Fayetteville, Georgia. And Baltimore, if you drive from Fayetteville to Baltimore, it's about a 3-hour drive.
Right.
If you fly, you're there in 30 minutes.
And then that text message that he left that the dogs were outside in the pool area as well.
Oh wait, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, he said, and don't forget that the dogs are outside in the pool area. Don't forget.
You know what? Amelia, why don't you go ahead and address that? Go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, he also left a text message to Chavo. And don't forget that the 2 dogs are going to be outside in the pool area. Why would he leave a text like that? Say, do not forget.
Yeah, you remember, Murph, we asked that question before.
And he's like, wait a minute. Why would he send me a text saying, do not forget? What does that mean? And he tried to call him back. Of course, he didn't answer. But why would he send me that? He's like, that's strange.
Okay.
Why would he send me a text like that?
That's a valid question. Murphy,
Yes.
why? Okay, so here's the question for you. Let's answer that question. Why? Why would he leave that message? Would it be A, an alibi? B, someone pretending to be Chris saying, these things, to
To
the other
allure it, to
party,
make
the
it look like.
WWE official.
Hmm.
I think what happened was the person who actually got that text was Tony Garea, because he was the road agent, and you had to check in with the road agent.
Hmm.
I think it was B.
I think it was somebody
Yeah,
pretending to be Chris Benoit
Yes.
that
I
sent that
believe
out.
that too. Let me see what our friends over here say.
Yeah.
Slaw says until recently, Vince has been able to hide and or to hide and or every scandal, and he was not able to hide this. No, he was not able to hide this. I'm going to tell you why. Somebody got sloppy. I think they were supposed to. I absolutely believe, and Slaw, I'll say this for the record. I've said it before. I think that Chris Benoit was the target. I do not believe now, nor did I believe then, that his wife and child were ever targets. I think that whoever killed Chris didn't realize that they weren't alone. That's what I think.
Good possibility.
Yes.
That's what I think. I don't think they realized that Nancy and Daniel were in the other room, because Chris Benoit had an entrance door to his gym. He also had, and you're going to see the house tonight. You're going to see where he lived. He had a very, very big, very beautiful house. We're going to take a look at it in a little bit. The other question, Slaw, why would they give Benoit so much airtime and championships if Vin didn't like him? Well, it's not that Vince didn't like him. It's whether Vince could make money off of him. You got to understand. Vince McMahon only knows one thing, Slaw: how to make money.
As a
He's
matter
not.
of,
He's
as a
not
matter of
used.
fact, I'm sorry, Angelo. I don't mean to cut you off, but as a matter of fact,
Then don't. Here's what happened. I want. No, you jump in, Murph. Hold on a minute. It's not that he didn't like him, and I'm going to let Murphy. Murphy knows. Vince loved anybody who made the money, and Chris Benoit made the money. Go ahead, Murph. You're front and center. I'm going to bring the camera up on you.
okay. And I'm quoting Paul Heyman. Okay. One of Vince McMahon's things when he first met Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Boy, that kid's money.
Yep.
And when Paul E. Dangerously, Paul Heyman did that shoot on Vince McMahon in the ring on on live TV.
That was a lot of shoot, brother.
Oh yeah, it was. He said Vince McMahon. He says, I said to Vince, hey, what do you have any concern of what I'm going to say? First words out of Vince's mouth: make me money.
Shoot hard and make me money is what he exactly said.
Yep.
Shoot hard and make me money.
And that's what Vince loves. That is the altar that Vince worships at.
Absolutely.
The almighty
there, Mr. Slaw, there is your explanation. Vince McMahon is all about the almighty dollar. I met Vince McMahon. I don't like him. He is quite a narcissistic individual. The sun rises and sets at his feet, and he can literally afford to buy anything he wants.
Or anyone.
Including police silence. And it wouldn't be the first time Jimmy Snuka, Nancy Argento. Interestingly, another Nancy in the case. Interesting, another Nancy. Nancy Argento was the late Jimmy Snuka's girlfriend at the time. I say this with respect because I know Carol Snuka. And Carol is a wonderful lady, a sweet, sweet lady. Okay, that's why he didn't want to lose John Cena. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that now you understand. John Cena wasn't going anywhere, okay? John Cena also worshipped at the altar of the Almighty Green. Okay? There's an expression, Slaw, in wrestling. Red turns to green. Blood means money.
Yep.
Okay. Vince McMahon's got a lot of blood on his hands, which means he's got a lot of money on his hands too.
Yeah.
Now, let's get back into dissecting this case a little bit. Because we got a lot of information to go through. I mean, a lot. So, Murph, talk to me about the initial night when everyone paid respect to Chris. And then the very next night, once it came out that he not only was dead, but that he killed his wife, allegedly killed his wife and son, and then allegedly committed suicide. A 5'11" guy on a 6-foot weight machine, a weight pulling machine, by the way, folks.
Well, to go back to Vince McMahon, Vince McMahon at first, Monday night came out, announced the death of Chris Benoit, and had everybody come out and pay respect.
Yeah.
A lot of tears. Then the next night, he disavowed it. He cut Benoit off at the knees. He deleted him from videos. Anything you could think of, he deleted his likeness from.
He deleted his whole life in wrestling, brother.
But I was getting to that.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, why? If it was alleged that he did it, and as far as I know, in America, you're still innocent until proven guilty. Why would he not wait until all the facts were out?
Well, that's the $1 million question, is it not?
Here's
the question I have for you and Amelia, and we always, as we do, ladies go first.
Yeah.
Here's the question I got for both of you. Murphy alluded to it a moment ago. What was this hard-on that Vince had for Chris Benoit? Would he not? Here are my off the top of my head.
Right.
Here are my bullet points.
Okay.
Did he not play ball? Did he not do something that Vince wanted him to do? Did he flat out say no to a road agent? So what's the case here, Amelia?
I think it's something that he didn't do what Vince wanted him to do. He wasn't a team player with something that Vince wanted him to go along with. If you
there she mentioned the word. She mentioned the word team player. Team player. It's been said and alleged. Again, we have to say alleged.
Alleged, yes.
It's been said and alleged that Chris Benoit was a rogue, that he was kind of like a lone wolf.
Exactly.
What do you know about that, Amelia? Then, Murph, I'm going to ask you that same question.
Well, of course, Vince had certain things that he had certain wrestlers do. And if you didn't do what Vince wanted you to do, then he'd set you apart, because just like in certain places, you have your little clique, as you might say. And if you were in the clique, then you were in it. And you would get certain amount of money, probably in your certain little matches, your certain little belts, as you might say, your little championship. And if you didn't, then you were out in the you get your matches. If you got your matches, and you got your little stay, and you got your nice little hotels, and if not, you got to stay in the little roach hotels, or you got to do that. If not, you could be with Vince.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the late Charlie Thunderfoot Norris.
Still alive, but late.
We got him in anyway. I was about to tell you as well that he had just messaged me that he was trying to get in.
Charlie, it's funny, Charlie, you came in at a great point. We were just talking about. Here's the question that I asked, and since you're here, I'm going to go right ahead with you and ask you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Norris.
Hey, sorry.
The question that I put out there, Charlie, was, did Vince McMahon have a hard-on for Chris Benoit? And if so, was it due to A, he didn't play ball, B, he didn't do business, C, he didn't do what Vince wanted him to do, he didn't kiss his ass, suck his cock, whatever the case may be. What do you think? Why did Vince McMahon have such a hard-on for Chris Benoit?
I don't know. Chris never said nothing about it. They were pushing him to the moon, and he won the world title. And I felt bad for Vince when, he had to go on these shows and talk about what happened because he was in shock. And Chris wasn't ever going to kiss no one's ass. He didn't have to. And, it's like I was having anxiety all day today thinking about this because it's traumatizing to me. Guys don't like to talk about it, but I'll just tell you what I know about it. No, I don't think I think Vince took good care of Chris. He made him the champion. And I felt bad for all the boys there when that happened because they probably knew Chris a lot more. They were on the road a lot longer with him, but to me, Chris, I'll tell you how we met. I mean, we met at a TV taping briefly one time, and then you go your own way and you do your thing. But we're working 21 days tour in Florida, working 17 or 18 days together. And so I was at a hotel getting a room. I was a new guy. I was just going to get my own room. I didn't, So the lady at the front desk there in Daytona, I think it's at the Hilton, she started she looked at me, she says, "We don't allow your kind here." Really loud. And all the boys were around me. And Chris was like 2 people back of me. And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She said, "We do not like your." We don't like your kind here. We don't want you here. I'm like, Indian? She said, "Yeah, we don't want you your kind of people here."
Really?
And Chris came up to me and I didn't even barely knew Chris before this. He said, "You fucking racist bitch, you motherfucker." and he said, he said, "This is a professional wrestler right here. You don't have no business talking to him like that." He just exploded on her. And after that, he said, "Come on, Charlie, we'll go across the street and get a room." And we roomed together for 3 weeks and stayed together. We talked, and he was real personable, real quiet. We tore the house down every night. It's the first time ever I got a standing ovation coming back through the curtains. All the boys were standing and clapping. I didn't even know what that meant. But
big deal, brother.
But it was Chris. I said, "You guys, it was all him," and it was. I told him I'm extremely nervous about working with you. He said, "Well, just shut up and listen out there." And I did. And we tore it down, and it was unbelievable. If I could have just worked with him on some TV matches, I would have been an international superstar because he was that damn good.
Yeah.
And when he started opening up as we going along, he started getting more comfortable. We stay up almost all night till like 4 a.m. talking in the dark, staring at the ceiling in the hotel rooms. And he really opened up to me. And, he really was a very personable guy. He was looking for that one solid guy. And I know I would have been him if I would have stuck around. And, I think Eddie Guerrero was that guy. They were really tight.
Charlie, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go there. And a lot of people, they have their theories about the relationship that Chris and Eddie had. I'm going to go there. They had a very, very close bond, almost like a marriage.
Yes, exactly.
They were like closer than brothers.
Yes, they were.
There were alleged, and I have to use this word, I got to say alleged. There were alleged stories of them being intimate.
Yes.
I don't believe that. I don't believe they were ever intimate.
No.
But they were very close, you're on the road with these guys all the time.
All the time.
You're sleeping in the same bed sometimes.
Yeah. They met in Japan. They worked in Japan at first, and that's where they became real tight brothers. And me and Brad Armstrong were like that. People were trying to talk about me and him, but we didn't care.
Yeah.
We were just close, tight brothers. Where call me at 3 a.m, I got you. Call him at 3 a.m.
Can you elaborate on that, Charlie? Can you tell people what life on the road is like with 2 wrestlers?
Well, you when you're new in the business, you're excited, you're nervous, you're scared, you don't want to fuck up, you don't want to hurt nobody. And Chris was just so good in there. He calmed me down, he relaxed me, he took care of me. I stiffed him one time. He's got a bloody lip, and oh my God, I was apologizing. He said, "Oh, shut up, don't worry about it," And he's one. You get real close, and me and Sam Houston were like that. We were just real close like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. You
and Sam actually were tag partners for quite a while.
Yeah, we went overseas together and down through the south there.
You guys were the Renegades, right?
Yeah.
Renegades.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that relationship. When Eddie passed away, and I was just telling Murphy before the show, I had the privilege, and I call it a rare privilege, of seeing Eddie Guerrero and Chris wrestle each other in Philadelphia
Wow.
at the Spectrum. I also saw them years ago, many years ago. They wrestled each other with ECW when they first came over.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that Eddie and Chris were both in ECW.
Yeah, they
That
were
was a
both
long
there.
time ago.
Yeah,
Long
yeah,
time.
yeah. And nobody could follow those guys, man. They were unbelievable.
Yeah.
But they weren't like that at all. I know that.
Yeah.
Chris, I never seen him do drugs. I never seen him take steroids. It was adamant in the locker room. I'll never spill the beans on who, but I never seen him do none of that. He drank very little.
Yeah.
At the end of the week, he'd have a beer or two at the bar, and just a real quiet person, hard to get to know. And he'd go around and say hi to everybody, but he'd be alone. So he's looking for, and I was that guy for a while. We stayed in touch for years, and he'd call me out of the blue, and he just didn't sound right. I'm like, when you win WrestleMania and the title, I mean, you just go down. What can you? You just go down from it. That's the top. So
yeah, that's a big deal, though.
Oh, it's
that's
huge
a
deal.
Huge deal.
Mm-hmm. That's a big payday.
That's a huge payday.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Murphy, Thunderfoot mentions that he was never in the presence of Chris while he was doing steroids or drugs or anything. Can you tell everybody, Mike, how many boxes and boxes of steroids the police found in Chris's house?
Yeah. First off, Charlie, my brother, how are you?
Hey, my man. Good to see you. Look good, man.
You look good too, brother. I look old, fat, and gray.
I'm whatever in gray too. I feel it.
But I just want to say, when the investigation was done in Chris's house, they found cases of anabolic steroids, D-ball, that kind of thing, which at that time, I don't know if it still does, but at that time ran rampant in the business.
Yeah, the schedule. I mean, you had to pretty much use it.
I'm not denying it.
It was insane.
I've done it too. I will not deny it.
Yeah, but I had a bad feeling, and I'm glad I didn't now, because I would have probably been a millionaire and I would have been dead a long time ago. So I lost a lot of good friends because of that. Laryngitis was the last one, and he didn't do no drugs or anything either, but damn steroids and that growth hormone, man. Mm-hmm. They didn't realize.
Oh, that's nasty stuff, brother. That's nasty shit.
And Chris was a naturally small guy, like Dynamite Kid. He's a 150-pound kid. Davy Boy, and they were small. Yeah. They're small kids.
Well, hey, Charlie, you mentioned something really important just now, Charlie. Everybody looks at Chris and they say he was a small guy.
Yeah.
He was 5'11". He was almost 6 foot tall.
Yeah, he was wide too. He wasn't, he was wide.
Yeah, he had smaller legs though than upper body. His upper body was longer, but he was very wide. He had his shoulders were 3.5 feet wide.
Yeah, he had a big presence in the ring, and
very
he told me one night, I asked him, I said, when do you feel the best? When do you feel the freest in your life? And he said, when I'm flying off the top turnbuckle with that flying headbutt. And Harley told him to quit doing that. You're going to hurt your neck, because Harley used to do that all the time. And he still kept doing it. And they said, that's the only time when I'm flying through the air I don't think about anything. Okay, Mama. So, yeah. And,
we have a guy in the chat room tonight, part of our audience. He's got a very interesting point, and he's absolutely right. It's a weird story. When they found out about Chris, it was at Vince McMahon's fake funeral. You guys remember that?
Oh, yes, I remember that. And they stopped.
How ironic is that?
Yeah.
It's either ironic or WWE putting messages out. What do you guys think? Because they've done weird shit like this before.
Oh, yeah, all the time. Something comes up and they're doing something fake.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories about it, and I'll never understand it, because He was a loving guy. He'll do anything for you. He always asked me do you need money? I'm like, no, man. I did, but I was gonna say,
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
he
right.
was like that. He got a bunch
Yeah.
of kids over here in Fargo. They were over here in Fargo one time, and I called him up. I said, can you get these kids in the back door from Red Lake Reservation here? We just had a school shooting. And he said, sure,
Yeah.
man. He said, are you coming? Are you coming? And I said, I hope so, maybe. I had to work
Yeah.
that time, but I didn't go. And all the guys, they treated these kids so good, because we had our own school shooting here. But Chris called me.
Yeah.
He said, oh, I was so disappointed you didn't show up, brother. But I understand. But then it just seemed like there was a dark side to him. I mean, I kind of sensed it a little bit. He talked about
I was going to ask you about that, Charlie, but since you volunteered it, let's talk about it.
He never said nothing, but I could sense it when he was talking. Like for the life of me, I couldn't make this guy laugh. I've never seen him laugh hard. I mean, a little smile maybe. I knocked his tooth out one night, but I didn't know it was a false tooth. He put it right back in.
Interesting. Charlie, it's funny that you say that. It's funny you say that, Charlie, because we got a guy in the chat room. I'm going to read this to you. Benoit always seemed like a psychopath to me. Mm-hmm. He was always angry, and he did that gesturing of slitting someone's throat. When a guy does this,
yes,
like Taker used to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh hell, Bret Hart did that. I mean, who else? Shawn Michaels. They all did it. Everybody. Vader used to do that. Leon used to
I did it one time, and they told me don't do that no more. Chris used to really do it really slow, like
That's what Chris used to do. He used to really sell it, like pull it back and everything.
And then he hung himself. Apparently.
Well,
man.
Yeah, but can I ask you about that, Charlie? Now, Charlie, I know that you've worked out in your life. I also know that you've used a pulley weight machine from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those machines are about 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
How does a guy 5'11" hang himself on a 6 foot machine?
I talked to some people. I talked to One Man Gang's wife, Mary Allison. She said, I blame Kevin Sullivan for that because of what happened there. And I never did like Kevin Sullivan. I didn't like his aura was evil. He was devil man or whatever. And he's really like that to me anyways. And I stayed away from him. He was on a booking committee. Yeah. And I just didn't have nothing to do with him because I was kind of scared of him. I didn't want to be around that kind of
let me tell people something, and we have it here, and we fact checked it. I want to make sure that everybody understands what I'm saying. We had a disclaimer at the beginning of the show. We have fact checked certain pieces of information here. Kevin Sullivan, fact, is a ranking member of the Church of Satan.
Yes, he is.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's not just a gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
He's living the gimmick. Okay. The other thing, fact checked. Kevin Sullivan, you could see it for yourself, was a guest on this show.
Really?
He was a guest on my show. I had him on this show. I was not allowed to ask him about Chris Benoit. I was not allowed.
That made it easier for me to digest that if he did plan something with his followers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And for years I believed that, and I don't really know for sure. I mean, the guy I knew, like I said, but he did have brain damage. You watched some of his matches. He was very self-destructive in the ring. One night he called a spot. He said, put me on top rope, give me the belly off the top. I said, I've never done that. He said, just fucking do it, and I did it. And he flew all the way across and hit the other turnbuckles over there. And that's the hardest backward land. I was like slow motion. All of a sudden, I had to go to chiropractor next morning, but I said, go ask him if he's okay. Go ask him if he's okay. And the referee, and I'm fine. So he was so phenomenal, man, in the ring. He was a master. And Dynamite he first seen Dynamite. He was a young boy, and he said, that's what I want to do with my life. And that Calgary bunch, them hell tours up there, a lot of those guys made it, but they were crazier than hell.
Yeah,
man.
but Charlie, he took way too many unnecessary risks, brother.
Yes.
Mike Murphy, you're a guy that's spent 25, almost 30 years in the ring. Murphy, talk to me about working smart and working hard.
Well, working smart, you take care of the person you're in the ring with. He takes care of you because you're both, getting
That's your
paid
bread and
either
butter.
way, and you want to keep working. You want to feed your family.
Yeah, it's your bread and butter. Absolutely.
Right. You get hurt, you get out. You're not able to feed your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, taking care of each other. That's working smart. Working hard. There are guys that are tight with a punch or a kick. There are guys who work stiff.
Mhm.
I've never worked stiff a day in my life.
Yeah, I
I
had
won't,
so many
because
concussions. You know, when you get a concussion early in a match from a bad bump or something,
Yep.
every time you take a bump after that, that's another concussion. And Bret Hart is the one that smarted me up. He said, "You're taking your bumps on your head, man. Stop doing that." And I had a lot, and I'm getting so forgetful today. I'm like, man, not because of that. You know,
One thing I want
the chairs. I wanted you when you're on the road like that, you just get in that groove. You just get more self-destructive every night as it goes on. You want to be better. You want to be harder. You want to do everything better than
you
everybody
don't want
else.
to lose your spot.
Well, yeah, and you want to. You gotta just do it. You know, I was in Japan 7 weeks one time, and oh my God, I said I'm never going back again, man.
I got a question for you, Charlie. You might know the answer to this because I think you were there at the time. I'm not absolutely certain, but I think you were there at the time.
Yeah.
Kevin Sullivan was booker for WCW.
Yes, he was on the committee.
Yeah. And Chris Benoit and Eddie were there along with the Malenko and Perry Saturn.
Yeah,
Okay.
Saturn, those 4 guys, yeah.
Okay, terrific. But I want to ask you something. And that's something I'm a pretty intelligent guy, but I can't wrap my head around this. Hold on, Murph. I can't wrap my head around this, Charlie. How does Kevin Sullivan go from the vengeful ex-husband to putting the title on Benoit, putting him over like $1 million, making him $1 million, making him more than he thought he would ever make? How does he do that and turn around and order this kind of hit on him? How does he do that? Or is that all part of the psychology?
Well, Chris was making $1,500 a week down there at the time, and when I was there anyway, maybe he got a raise later, but they never did them like they should have. They never did. All those guys were talented guys, and they didn't. They just they quit. They went to Vince, and that's where Chris really made his money and
he became a millionaire there, Charlie.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. WrestleMania, you're a millionaire main event, that was easy for me to think that Kevin Sullivan had something to do with it, and a lot of people think that because it was so well planned or whatever, how they did it, I don't know, but he did have severe brain damage.
Well, I gave information tonight to Mike Murphy. Did you read it, Mike?
Unfortunately, I didn't get through all of it before.
I'm going to read some information about Kevin Sullivan.
Well, I got something about Kevin Sullivan I want to say.
And I'm going to mention it tonight. Before I do, I have to, of course, bring in the female perspective here.
Amelia.
Hey.
Sorry.
Now, Amelia, since you're the only woman on the panel and all 3 of us have brain damage from too many chair shots, let's ask you, does it make sense for you? Does it make sense for you from a psychology standpoint, from a throw them off their track standpoint, for Kevin Sullivan to put the strap on Chris and then fuck him over later on?
Basically, yeah, it's like giving him the whole cookie jar and say, here, look at all these nice little cookies that I can give you to kind of like throw him off the point, and then take it all away from him. Say, see what I gave you, now I'm going to take it all away. See what you could have, and then it's mine back. It's mine again. Because there was also a thing on there too that I read that all of a sudden his death was announced before anybody in the social media by somebody that knew how to do the Wikipedia.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. That's critical. There are a couple of things here, you guys, that don't jive up with the
Yeah.
official
And
story.
teenagers, of course, back then were into the Satanism. And who is in the Satanism? Of course, Kevin Sullivan. Got a lot
I
of
wanna
followers to me.
first of all give credit, give kudos, and give thanks to a group called Chris Benoit is the evidence and facts that Chris Benoit is innocent. That's a Facebook group. I want to first acknowledge them. I want to say thank you to Dean Johnny Angel and the interviews conducted by the family of Chris for helping out with some of these posts and stuff.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
here is what they say directly from their group. This is the new evidence. And I have heard this, but never saw it in writing before.
Right.
Kevin Sullivan threatened Chris Benoit and told him that he would kill him.
Yes, I've
Kevin
heard that.
Sullivan is a high-ranking member of the Satanic Church. Fact-checked, finding is true. They live on revenge. By doing this crime, not only would Kevin Sullivan have lived out his Satanic Church creed with his revenge, but he would also have destroyed Chris Benoit's reputation. And as you guys know, Charlie and Mike, you guys know that a wrestler's reputation is all he's got. Why would he tie his wife up before killing her? He would have no reason to, but Kevin Sullivan sure would.
Yeah.
When Chris sent the text messages, that could have been a cry for help.
Yeah.
Of course, he could call someone, either that or the real killers sent the text to make it look like Chris. And I said that earlier. It didn't sound right to me. Those text messages did not ring true to me, Charlie. Charlie, they sounded like somebody playing games, man. It sounded like somebody playing games. It didn't sound legit. I said that to you, Murph, remember?
Yeah.
It didn't sound legit.
Leaving dogs outside by the pool area where they could drown.
Yeah, right?
Exactly. You don't do that, not with dogs.
In most every suicide case, here's the clincher, and then we'll talk about it. And we'll start with Murph, and we'll go around Charlie and then Amelia. In almost every suicide case, and believe me, folks, I know people that have committed suicide. They always leave a note. In almost every suicide case, there's a suicide note. Why didn't Chris Benoit leave one? If he did commit these crimes, he had the time to tell people why. He had the time to talk to his family, his father, who he loved and adored, his fans, who he loved and adored, and more importantly, his boss that made him a millionaire. Okay. If he did commit these crimes, wouldn't Chris want a suicide note to explain all of this?
Makes sense. They found an open Bible. Oh, you're not asking me first, but they did find an open Bible there. I guess.
We're going to talk about that too.
Yeah.
A former LAPD detective said, quote, I haven't heard of a suicide note or someone, I haven't seen or heard of a suicide note in this case, or someone who talked with Mr. Benoit that can say he actually talked to them. So everything's been by text. He didn't actually like, hey, you guys, pick up the phone and say, yo, what's happening? Or, how you guys doing or whatever. It's all been text. And if you don't know who's behind that text, it's just words on a page.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What happened till innocent until proven guilty in a court of law? Everybody crucified Benoit as soon as they found out that he, his wife, and his son were dead. They made this guy the proverbial Jesus. They hung him on a cross.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, they crucified him. Legit, speculative, nobody will know now. But we're trying to get answers. That's why, folks, we do these shows. What happened to guilty, innocent until proven guilty? In all crime cases, police do DNA, fingerprints, etc. Well, guess what? In Fayetteville, Georgia, they did not. In the Chris Benoit case, they didn't do any DNA, no fingerprint, fact-checked, finding true. Let's talk about this because I got more where that note came from. So, Charlie Norris, let me go to you first, my friend. Talk to me about this. Suicide notes, cries for help.
Yeah.
Does this sound like the Chris Benoit that you knew?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Where did Chris go off the rails, in your opinion, Charlie?
Well, I think when he got mixed up with Nancy, I think that was his beginning of his downfall, I think. And it's easier for me to believe that Sullivan did have something to do with it. We'll probably never know, hopefully we will someday. Because it was very well planned out. It was years in planning to do that, to get back at him. Because
you know when you're going to know? I'll tell you when you're going to know. Everybody is going to know after Kevin Sullivan passes away.
Yeah.
Because then somebody's going to talk.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's what's going to happen. Everybody's too afraid as long as Sullivan is alive. As long as Sullivan is alive, people are afraid to talk. There's only one other person they fear. Vince McMahon. Yeah. Vince is still alive. Okay? There are a lot of people afraid to talk because that man's still walking.
There's a lot that's going to come out about that WWF, what happened behind the scenes for all those years, what was allowed to happen. Yeah. The boys all knew about it. It was a black iron industry when that happened because they blamed Chris for everything. And the guy was just too loving to. Either he didn't know what he was doing, of course, for sure. But yeah, he would have had somebody would have had some kind of warning. He would have sought help somehow before killing his son. Yeah. Oh man, I had anxiety all day about this today.
I'm sorry, brother.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm okay.
I want to read something over here, Charlie. But before I do, I'm going to go back to our audience. Let's see here. U2 Wavy has a question. Did he ever tell Vince that he had brain damage? Charlie, Murph, do you want either one of you guys want to take that one?
I don't believe.
Let me ask you this, Murph. Would it be an embarrassment for him to say to Vince that he had brain damage?
Well, he wouldn't have to tell Vince. Vince had an open clause. Vince has open clauses with his doctors that the doctors come to him with any information.
How about that, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's right about that. Yeah.
I think Murphy is absolutely right. I think they had an open door policy.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read this to you. It's interesting stuff. It's really, really interesting. And nobody's even bothered to question it after all these years. So we generally accept that over a 3-day period from June 22nd, the 3rd, and 24th, Chris Benoit killed his wife, killed his son, went on a rampage weekend of rampant steroid, roid rage, allegedly roid rage, took out his wife, his beloved wife and son, and then killed himself on a 6-foot weight machine, keeping in mind he's 5'11", and we're supposed to believe that he hung on this thing. His son was strangled, asphyxiated in his sleep.
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to understand what I'm talking about here. It's gruesome. Someone killed a 7-year-old boy by strangling him to death while he was sleeping. Okay? That's what we're talking about here. You're going to see.
That's where it gets me right there. I mean, I can see
that bothers me, Charlie.
I just could not. there's no way, man. He wouldn't do that. He talked about his son. I think he had 2 kids in Canada. I know he had a son he talked about a lot. And he adored them children. And I couldn't see Chris doing that to that little fella. You know, I just couldn't, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, Charlie, that's a great segue into what we're going to do right now. This is, and I have to do this, folks. I must do this, so forgive me. Be right back.
Yes.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay. I have to issue that disclaimer because we have pictures coming up that are disturbing. Okay, so let me explain what we're looking at here. Mike, Charlie, Amelia, people at home, you're looking at Chris Benoit's home. You see in the front of that house, there's a horseshoe driveway.
Yes.
In front of that horseshoe driveway is a 7-foot metal and stone fence with a gate that is electronically open and closed. You have to go quite a ways from the street to the front door of that house. I want you to look at it. Charlie, you ever been to Chris's house?
No. He told me about it when he bought it, though. He said he paid cash for it and it was paid for.
Yeah, that was his WrestleMania money, brother.
Probably.
By the way, he made $3.5 million for that WrestleMania.
Wow.
In case people want to know, that was his WrestleMania payday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to go back here. Because I want to make sure that you all see what we're seeing here. All right. This is Chris, Daniel on the bottom, and David, who he has his arm around.
Yeah.
In the little circle up there, is Chris with a chokehold. Interestingly enough, he's got a chokehold on a fan. The fan is the person with Chris right there. The fan's father took that picture. On the right-hand side of that screen, you see a bloody mess. Okay. This directly contradicts the police report that says that there was very little, if any, blood on the scene.
That looks like a lot of blood to me. That's the first time I ever seen that.
That is where Nancy was found. Now, Charlie, Mike, and Amelia, I want to show you. I'm not going to actually show you. I'm going to tell you. I saw Nancy Benoit's autopsy photo. It bothered me so much that I cannot, in good conscience, show it on the air. And I want to tell you guys, we just saw Marilyn Monroe's autopsy photos.
Yes.
This stuff was gruesome. It was absolutely gruesome. If you believe that this woman was just choked out and suffocated,
where's the blood come from?
It looks like she was stabbed.
That's my point, Charlie. Where'd the blood come from?
It looks like she was stabbed, not strangled.
She was stabbed. There was a knife found. We're going to see that in a little bit. Okay. This was Chris's office. If you look at the office there, it's a mess. That's a pool table, by the way, in his office. Kind of like an all-purpose room. You see a crushed can of Pringles on the floor. That seems to be stuff. It looks to me, Mike Murphy, this looks like a staged crime scene to me.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
What's wrong with that picture, Murph?
Well, first off, from what I can tell, the TV is still on. Because it looks like it's up against the wall. That could be a picture. I'm not 100% sure.
No, it's a television. You're right. The TV was on.
Yeah. Second, Chris Benoit was known to be very neat, very tidy.
Yep.
Yes, he was.
Would never let his office get to that level of messiness, if you would.
Okay. Let's take a look. Okay. You're looking at a photo of the room Nancy was found in. This is from a still picture from Fox News in Fayetteville, Georgia. Keep in mind that what you're seeing on the news is blurred. You're going to see a crisper picture of that scene. Just keep in mind, these are okay.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
All right. I want to tell you there's a person in that mess. Okay. Nancy Benoit is underneath that mess there.
Look at all the blood from there. That must be her head.
Yeah.
Oh my
Charlie,
goodness.
there's also, you see that big piece of plastic at the bottom of the picture there?
What is that?
That her body was wrapped up in that.
I never knew that. I never knew that.
It was wrapped up in plastic because they didn't tell you this stuff. Because these photos, and you're going to see the other place where these photos showed up, and you're going to shit yourself when I tell you. You're not going to fucking believe it. But this is an official police photo from the crime scene. She was wrapped up in plastic. They took her out of the plastic and they put a blanket over her. She's completely covered now.
Man.
All right, now. Okay.
Wow.
Mike Murphy, you've seen literally every picture from the crime scene. Can you tell me what's wrong with this picture?
First off, the only time I know anybody uses plastic, that's usually the person who uses plastic is a pro.
Yeah. Where have we seen this? In the mafia?
Yeah, hitmen, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They wrap the body in plastic. They throw it in the trunk of a car.
And they wrap it in plastic mostly to avoid blood spillage. And not only that, but that crime scene photo, there was definitely one hell of a struggle. And I don't think it was Nancy doing the struggling.
I don't think so either.
I hate to say it, I think it was Chris.
Well, that was one photo array. You're going to see the next one. Now, before we get too far into this, you guys, Mike, Charlie, Amelia, if you want me to stop this presentation at any place, just tell me to stop and I'll stop. Okay. Mike and Charlie, you remember when WWE did that video wall during the pandemic when people weren't allowed in?
Remember they said they were... Is that Chris's picture in the audience?
Yep.
You got to be kidding me. I didn't know. Oh, my. Vince is a sick motherfucker, man.
Wait, it gets better. It gets better. He said that Chris Benoit would never appear on WWE television. Well, there he is right on that board, and there you see the enlarged version. Keep that in mind, you guys. Because you're going to see some other stuff. By the way, Charlie, right there is where Nancy was found, right at the behind that chair. Now, remember I showed you that Fox News photo that was all kind of grainy looking?
Yeah.
This is the police photographer. Take this picture here. Okay. Mike Murphy pointed something out, that Chris was a neat freak. I want you to look at that room. That room doesn't look like anything happened there. Okay? That looks like a pristine room. Here's another picture of it. It looks perfectly clean. And there again is the same room on Fox News. Here's my question, Mike Murphy. You're a guy that's got a little bit of cleanup experience. Why would you want to blur this purposely?
So you can hide things.
Yeah, but what are they hiding? Because they just showed you the room is perfectly clean.
Well,
what's there that somebody doesn't want you to see?
First off, it looked from the pictures, it looks like the furniture there is two different colors.
It does.
It's a lot neater. It looks like a lot neater.
I mean, yeah, it looks like almost staged.
Yeah, here, Charlie. Here, Mike. Here, Charlie. This is the picture just before it, and then there's the picture right after it. Same room.
Same room, no.
But they look like two different colored chairs. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
There again is that photograph. By the way, Mike Murphy and Charlie and Amelia, I got a question for all three of you, and I think I probably could tell you the answer, but I want to hear you. If you're a police photographer and you're a police officer investigating an alleged murder-suicide in a home involving a whole family, are you going to take a handful of pictures, or are you going to take many, many hundreds of pictures?
Thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures.
Yeah,
every angle you can think of.
You're going to burn up at least 10, 20 different rolls of film.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to tell you guys something. The official Lafayette, Georgia Police Department file of photographs regarding the Chris Benoit murder-suicide consists of four photos. You heard me right. Four. And you saw all four tonight. In case you didn't know that already. You saw all four. There's one they didn't want you to see. That came from the official police report, too. That's the bedroom.
Filthy.
That's the bedroom.
Now, is that Chris and Nancy's bedroom?
They think this is Daniel's room.
Yeah, that's got to be Daniel's room.
Yeah.
I brought Chris Jericho into this because there's something that he said early on that turned out to be absolutely not true. In one of the very first interviews after Chris Benoit was said to have been the murderer of Nancy and Daniel, Chris Jericho put forward that Daniel Benoit had what was called a fatigue syndrome. Okay. We know now that he did not. There was absolutely nothing wrong with this kid whatsoever.
Yeah, he didn't have any kind of disease at all.
What did they call it, Amelia? Say again.
I can't remember the name of the syndrome, but it was some kind of where he wouldn't grow or something like that, and he was supposed to be getting growth hormones or something like
Yeah.
that.
But then none of that was true. Okay. You get some perspective here now. You saw the house from the air. You can see where the front gate is and the wall I was telling you about. Look how far you have to go to the front door.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to literally drive to the door, or you're going to take a hell of a walk. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure, Murph.
Okay, you look at that driveway. Now, granted, he's by himself, but I'm sure the Benoit family was living by themselves. But I'm sure they had neighbors. Now, when you have neighbors and you have any kind of celebrity, your neighbors are always watching.
You're absolutely right, my friend.
But yet nobody saw any kind of vehicle or anything like that come and go.
Well, let me suggest to you, Charlie and Amelia, this. I think the neighbors did see someone come and go, but I don't think they paid mind to it because I think it's someone or some people that have been there before, knew the house, thereby, ergo, there was no forced entry. He let them in. I believe whoever killed Chris, he let them in. He knew the person.
Or Nancy did.
Or she did. Yeah.
Right. Somebody that was always familiar going probably in and out of the house all the time.
Charlie, what is your take on this, brother?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they had to, the more I see this stuff, they blew that crime scene. They should have been there for days with special, the people, the fingerprints, every little detail, hair, every little thing. I think they just said this murder-suicide, it's all, and that's it, and let's just get out of there. They blew that, man.
Charlie, they had this thing wrapped up in 9 days, brother.
Yeah, no. They should have been still in that house on their hands and knees for 9 months.
They should have. In the military, Mike, they call it sweeping it, don't they?
Yes.
It's called sweeping it. Somebody should have went in. A team should have went in and swept this place.
Yeah.
In other words, every nook and cranny. Okay.
There we go.
Here we go. Let's talk about Kevin Sullivan. Let's talk about Nancy Sullivan Benoit. Let's talk about Daniel, and let's talk about traumatic brain injury. I do not doubt for one moment. In fact, I think the evidence is very compelling that Chris had a messed up cerebral cortex. His cerebellum was all but mush. In other words, he had severe brain damage. That's probably, Charlie, why you never saw him smile.
Yeah.
That's probably why. They say that people with this kind of disposition are they're lone wolves, they're loners. They keep to themselves. They don't do a lot of interaction socially. They tend to be very either manic depressive or bipolar. They also happen to suffer from either bipolar disorder or attention deficit disorder, ADD. You're looking at Nancy Benoit when she was married to Kevin Sullivan. She was called Woman at the time. I think wasn't Murphy she was called Woman, or was there another name?
She was called Woman.
No, she went by Woman.
Yeah,
Woman. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Again, Kevin Sullivan. The more you mention his name, the more he seems like a very ample, very fitting suspect. But what if we're all wrong? What if it was not Kevin, but somebody completely different, someone completely removed? Someone like Vince McMahon, perhaps. What would be the benefit? What would be the benefit, Mike Murphy? You're a guy that's been around for almost 30 years in wrestling. So you, Charlie. What would be the benefit of putting all of this time, money, and effort behind the guy to make him champion, knowing his payday is going to be millions of dollars, just to turn around and kill him? Do you let him live his dream out before he dies like a lamb to the slaughter?
I just think that fucking Sullivan, man, I don't know. Just my gut feeling. Yeah. It always was. And now I see these pictures. They blew that crime scene. Those detectives and the special, they should have been there for a long time doing all that. Man.
Yeah. You want to see something scary? Look at him and look at his son. David Benoit is a dead ringer for his father. I mean, look at this kid.
Oh yeah,
he looks
twin.
Just like he looks like his twin.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about seeing a ghost. I feel bad for the kid. I want to tell you why. I don't know if you know, Charlie. I know Mike Murphy knows, but David Benoit was being trained to wrestle. He got such pushback from his father that he quit wrestling school. And he wants nothing to do with the world of wrestling now.
Well, that's understandable.
Go ahead, Murph.
Well, it's understandable he wants nothing to do with the wrestling world, because now, I mean, even if he finished his training and got into the business, he wouldn't be known as David Benoit. He'd be known as Chris Benoit's kid. He'd never be able to come out of that shadow.
Or the murderer's son.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah. I want you to take a look at this, Charlie, Mike, Amelia. This is the bathroom. Somebody got their head bashed on that toilet.
Yeah.
I want you to look at the floor. That floor, Charlie, is marble. It's Italian marble. That whole bathroom is marble, Mike Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the blood. It's everywhere. But we're going to talk about all this. Charlie, you said you never saw Chris smile. The only time I can, honest to God, I can raise my hand to God and tell you, the only time I've ever seen Chris smile in pictures is when he's with or next to Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Only time. These guys had a bond, and that's why, like, everybody thought they were lovers. You know, I have no doubt that they loved each other deeply.
Oh yeah.
But do I think that they were gay lovers? No, I do not.
No.
Change your face very quickly, guys. Look how young they were. Okay, this is Chris and his father, his family, his daughter. There's the ex-wife in the background. They look like a normal family in the company of his family. And there you go again, big smile. But nowhere else. Okay. Charlie, I want to show you something. Mike Murphy, I want to show you something. Amelia, this was on WWE television. It's that video wall that they had going. What they did, what you are looking at, is a picture from the crime scene. They showed it on WWE television. People were looking at the crime scene and had no fucking clue they were looking at the crime scene. Okay?
Wow.
What?
Oh, maybe I'm missing it, but all I see is somebody dressed up like a Klansman.
No, you're not missing it. That's exactly what you're seeing. What you're supposed to be seeing, and you may be missing it. No, but you're seeing the Klansman. What you're not seeing is up on that wall. I'll give you a minute to look at it. Just look for the blood spatter.
I am. I don't see it.
It's the second picture in on the top.
Oh, okay, there it is. Now I see it.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And they put it on live TV. This is the induction that never happened. Chris Benoit was supposed to be inducted into the class of 2018. That, of course, never happened because they withdrew his name. Or I should say, Vince McMahon withdrew his name.
Yeah, but Mike Tyson's in there.
Well, wait a minute. So is Joni Lauer. So is Sonny. So is X-Pac. What do they have in common?
Murders.
All three of them have done fuck films. They've all done porn films.
Yeah.
Every one of them have done porn. Including, by the way, Paul Levesque. Pretty woman. This was when Eddie Guerrero passed. All right. Now, we got lots to talk about. Charlie, go ahead, Murph. I see you got a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, not so much a question, but a couple of observations from the crime scene and all.
Observe away, my brother.
Okay, first off, as Charlie will tell you, Chris Benoit, and I've said this before, was an Olympic caliber wrestler.
Yeah.
He could do it all. So why were Nancy's feet and hands bound?
Well, that's the
when
question.
All he'd have to do is walk up behind her and choke her out.
Yeah, well, and we've said that. Actually, I think we talked about that on the other show. But we also mentioned it earlier in this one. Why would there be a need to bind her hands and feet? And wasn't just her feet. They bound her by the hands and feet, Murph.
No. That was totally
unnecessary.
But what I'm saying is choke her out. If he did choke her out, why would he do that? Why would he have to do that?
Well, Charlie,
walk up behind her and choke her out.
Yeah. Well, I think that Charlie, that's what Murph is saying. There were, Chris was like 5'11", right?
Mm-hmm.
Almost 6 foot tall, but he had forearms that are like 3 times the size of mine.
Yeah.
Okay. The guy was jacked. He was fucking, racked and jacked. This guy, a strong guy, not super tall by wrestling standards, but as you said, Charlie, wide and solid, a strong fucking guy.
Believe me, yeah.
Snap her neck, man. Cause snap her
also,
neck.
Yeah. Also, all right, it's been proven Kevin Sullivan is a member of the church, a high-ranking member of the Church of Satan.
Yep.
The Bible next to Nancy. perfect way of throwing an insult out there to the religion.
Yeah, good
Like,
point.
we're going to kill her, we're going to put God's Bible right next to her. I personally believe that Nancy and David, may God rest their souls, were already dead when Chris got home, and he walked in on it.
Monty and the Pharaoh have a brilliant point they bring up. Sources say that in the last picture, the pencil was much too far away from the pad. It just does not add up. Is it possible that a former WWE writer was the murderer? Think about it, pen, paper, table. Maybe, let's see. I want maybe Vince Russo. I don't know about Vince Russo. Maybe who else wrote for them? Mike, who else wrote for WWE? You had Jim Cornette, Vince Russo, Bruce Pritchard,
John Laurinaitis.
Yeah, they should have canned his ass too. Monty and the Pharaoh, if you're still out there with me, you got me peaked now. This is interesting stuff. I got to ask, who do you guys think it is?
And there's also rumored that that Michael had already Xanax in his system, that he was already dead when he was choked.
You know what, Mil? You talk about that.
Yeah, they had said that he had already, that somebody had already killed him before he was actually choked. So, and before he was strangled, before strangulation, they said that somebody had already murdered him with the Xanax. And
on what my slaw says, when they do video walls, the person can put any image on the screen. I didn't realize that. I thought that you had to have some kind of approval to do that.
Oh, no, you can put anybody's face that you want to on there.
Here's what we know factually. All right, what we know is that between June 22nd and June 24th, we're absolutely certain of this time period, right? Between those couple of 2-3 days, something dramatic and sudden happened in the life of Chris Benoit that either he perpetrated, he participated in, he was a willing part of, or he, his wife, and kid were completely rammed and they didn't see it coming. Or he knew it was coming and it went too far. I don't know. What do you guys, Murph, what do you think?
Well, I think whoever did it, I think it was definitely a hit. I think that Chris walked in on it.
Yeah. I think so too. I said that before. You know, the one thing, Charlie, that doesn't make any sense to me, and we've discussed this and we just can't figure it out. Murphy and I, this is the second show we've done on Chris Benoit. The other one was like about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago. We did another show on Chris, and we asked the same question then. He had to know who his killer was. He let them in. He opened the door. He let them in.
Yeah, there was no
think he let them in. Who was it? Somebody, obviously, it was someone or people that the neighbors would never suspect because it didn't throw up any red flags with the neighbors. In fact, to the point where, and I'm going to read this directly from the police report, the police enlisted the help of a neighbor to go into the house. Now, listen to this one. You want to talk about exposing yourself? The police department, who get paid the big bucks to go into these kind of situations, they enlisted the help of a neighbor to go in. Well, what if they were still in there? What if somebody was in there with a gun or a knife and took out the neighbor? So now you're going to tell me that the Fayetteville Police Department enlists the service of unwitting citizens to do their dirty work? Are you kidding me?
I wonder how far. I'm sure he had security cameras too. I mean, they could have, you know. I don't even know. I'm pretty sure he had security cameras. He's going to have that in kind of, you know.
Charlie, you are the only person, Charlie Norris, the only person that's mentioned security cameras in the entire investigation. You're the only one who said security cameras.
Yeah, I mean, go back days, you know, because it would take more than 2 or 3 guys to handle Chris. Believe me. I mean, that guy.
I believe it.
It would have to be more than one, and it's got to be more than one person involved.
Chris Benoit, the way he was built, reminded me a lot of Bruno Sammartino.
Powerful, man. He was powerful.
5'11", built like a gorilla, short legs, big upper torso, arms and a chest.
Yeah, he was
That
strong.
was Bruno. Bruno was built the same way.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, he could crush you. Go, Murph.
Something I wanted that which coattails off of what Charlie said.
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen a mother fighting for her children?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're vicious.
Oh, yes.
Vicious.
Right. Vicious, and they take on the strength of 10 men. They will do anything to protect their child.
Yep.
Hence, the crime scene photo where that one bedroom or living room was in total disarray.
Absolutely.
She was fighting for her life. She was fighting for her child's life.
Yeah.
And I believe to control a person like that takes more than one guy.
Yeah. Here you go, Mike. And Charlie, this is what I was trying to get to you. It was later alleged that Daniel had Fragile X syndrome, and that was the cause of his domestic problems in the Benoit family. They believed that, and this was Chris Jericho that put this out there, and this is when we're going to talk about him in just a second. Chris Jericho put out on his podcast that Daniel had Fragile X syndrome, which meant that he was a slow developing child. It turns out that he did not have Fragile X syndrome. He was a perfectly normal kid. He was just short for his age, just like Chris was when he was young. It's those short legs and the longer upper body.
Like the longer torso. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It was also suggested that the needle marks on Daniel's arm were the result of growth hormones given to him because Benoit and his family considered him undersized for his age. Chris Benoit didn't think, because of his mental state, he didn't think about Daniel being short like he was short when he was young. He wanted his kid to be, an athlete, a jock. He wanted his kid to wrestle. Okay? That wasn't ever going to happen for Daniel. It was never in the cards for him to wrestle. He was a small kid. Here we go. Benoit's co-worker and friend Chris Jericho stated from his own research that concerning those who had publicly stated they had no knowledge of Daniel having that condition, Jericho said, if Chris had described that he wanted to keep it to himself, I wouldn't have been able to pry that out of him. In other words, Jericho, issued this statement because he thought it was okay for him to do so because Chris was no longer around. What he did was he fired the cannon before he hit the ball in it.
Yeah.
So it's like dry firing the gun. On Monday, June 25th, WWE wrestlers and senior officials arrived in Corpus Christi. That's where it was. For a house show. For Raw, which was to take place that Monday evening at the American Bank Center. That's the one where you guys saw Vince McMahon standing in an empty arena in the middle of the ring, and he said, okay, what we thought we were going to do was celebrate Chris Benoit's life, but tonight we're going to write him off because he's a murderer and blah, blah, blah. This is before anything was ever proven. So they either jumped the gun, I suggest to you, they either jumped the gun or they knew something we didn't at the time.
Oh, I firmly believe that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also to make Chris Benoit look guilty as well, Nancy had filed for divorce because of allegedly domestic abuse that she was going to charge him with. And supposedly he was having an affair with another female wrestler at the WWE. And they were arguing over an insurance policy. But later on, she stopped the divorce. So that also gave the smoking gun to the person that started all this and put, of course, Chris as the guilty party.
Yeah. Amelia, I have Slaw in the chat. He says, if Vince loved Chris, actually anybody can take this. If Vince loved Chris, why would he then refer to him as a monster? And by the way, he continually referred to him as a monster. Charlie, you want to take that one? Then you, Mikey?
Well, Vince, I guess he kind of had to say that because he's protecting his organization. He shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have. There were so many mistakes in this whole thing with the investigation and all that. I think Vince was just trying to save face, that put all the blame on Chris.
Yeah.
And some of it should have been put on Vince too. See, people would have noticed Chris if something was going on. Chavo was real close to him too, and X-Pac, all these guys, they said we did. It's weird, man. We'll never figure it out.
Slaw also says Chris was giving Daniel steroids. Slaw, you state that as a matter of fact. What proof do you have, please? I'll wait. Amelia, while I'm waiting for Slaw to present his proof of Chris giving Daniel steroids, why don't you tell everybody what's coming up next week?
Oh, absolutely. We have on the 20th, we have Red, White, and Screw You. We're going to be talking about some government, the White House, everything about the government, why it's corrupted.
How the government fucks over the people.
Exactly, and why corruption. And then you're going to do
Native American about our government.
Right? What's not right with it?
I might bring back Thunderfoot for that one, too.
Right?
We're in trouble, man.
Yeah, I know, right, bro?
And on the 22nd, we're going to do a special show about decoding symbols and things like that. What kind of symbols, what they mean, like Google. We're going to discuss that, and Gmail and things like that. And you're also going to be doing a special show with a Jewish director.
I am doing a show on Wednesday, September 21st, with film director Alan Zweig, who directed an amazing film called When Jews Were Funny. I should tell you that Alan Zweig is Jewish, so I'm not poking fun at the Jews. No. In fact, I love the Jews, as a matter of fact.
It's going to be a wonderful show.
And I love Jewish humor a lot. A lot. And that's why I'm having Alan Zweig on the show.
You and him together, just a candid conversation.
And it's going to be, me and Alan, excuse me, I'm sorry, me and Alan and nobody else.
Nope, just a candid conversation with two people. Talk about a great film.
Who love Jewish humor. And I'll tell you what, Charlie Thunderfoot, if you're available, I'd like to bring you on to that a Red, White, and Screw You.
Yes. That would be great, man.
I'd love to have, Amelia.
I'd like to talk about,
I'll tell you, get with Charlie after the show and book him for that one.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. So Slaw says it was reported in the news that Chris gave Daniel steroids to make him big. That was what was reported, Slaw. There's absolutely no proof of that. Well, I'll tell you what. He says that would explain the boxes of steroids. Actually, Mike Murphy, my friend of 25 years, has a very interesting theory on the steroids. Why don't you tell everybody what you think Chris was doing with those steroids, Mike?
I believe he could have possibly been distributing them for Vince.
That's what Murphy has said that for more than like 2 years already. He's been saying that he thinks that Chris was distributing these things for Vince McMahon. You got to remember something. It wouldn't be Murphy, and you know, brother, you and I lived through it. And Charlie lived through it too. It wouldn't be the first time Vince got his hands dirty with steroids. 1981, the whole steroid scandal that almost brought Hulk Hogan to his knees.
Oh, yes.
Okay? Lest we forget that. Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior. Oh, my God. Tom Brady. Who else? They were all jacked to the gills, man. They were all juiced up. Hercules Hernandez.
Well, you even said that there was a reason. What's the reason that maybe Chris wouldn't play ball? Maybe he didn't want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, brother, he was eating steroids like candy, and I think Charlie can vouch for that.
No, I mean, maybe he didn't want to distribute for Vince anymore.
Oh, distribute. Oh, yeah, I got you. You know,
owed too much money to Vince and couldn't pay up.
Well, Amelia, you brought up an interesting point. What about that, Murph? Why don't you have that conversation with Amelia about who benefited financially? Maybe he wasn't getting a big enough cut. Maybe he said to Vince, "Hey, I want a bigger cut if I'm going to take these chances."
I think it's possible that when wrestlers started dying, because I mean, let's face it, we had a couple of years there before Chris passed away.
Yeah,
where wrestlers were dying left and right.
Oh my God! Remember that, Charlie?
Yes.
And when Chris saw that happening, hey Vince, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to distribute anymore.
Yeah.
Vince could be like, well, you're working for me, so you either do what you're told.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's Vince for you.
And Chris had just gotten dropped from Monday Night Raw down to ECW.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know none of that. I mean, yeah.
Here's the thing, too, Charlie. Here's the thing, too. We talked about this earlier. That someone, either Chris or someone using his cell phone, texted the WWE road agent and told them he was going to miss the house show because Nancy and Daniel were throwing up blood because of food poisoning.
Yeah.
I just read a laundry list of things that you can get from food poisoning, but guess what? Vomiting blood ain't one of them.
No.
And it's nowhere, not even close to the list. So whoever wrote this, and I don't think Chris did, whoever wrote this had no knowledge of what food poisoning could do to a person. There's one other person who kind of throws a monkey wrench into this, and I want to know if you know about this guy, Charlie. His name's Rene Dupree.
I know of him. I don't know much about him. I heard his name.
He says that he received a text from Chris earlier the day that all of this allegedly happened. Again, Rene Dupree was not able to prove it.
Correct. Yeah, I know.
So it's interesting. You get all of this information, but conveniently people forget. They lose the notes they wrote stuff down on. The camera wasn't working. It ran out of film, whatever the case. Chris had security cameras on that property. You could bet me. Okay? Yeah. You're not going to tell me that somebody didn't see something. He had cameras inside his house. If you look closely at those photos, you can see them in the house. So nobody's going to tell me that Chris Benoit wasn't prepared for something. But where's all the camera film? Where's the tape?
Well, that's
Yeah.
the rub.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Murph?
That's the rub right there. Where is all the video?
Yeah.
And who has
Unless it was turned off or something, you see it on cop shows all the time. Oh, the camera wasn't working, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was a very elaborate, well thought out, planned thing to just write off Chris as he was this and that. Even if he did have a brain of a 70-year-old guy, I never heard of a 70-year-old guy killing his own grandchild or whatever. I never heard of that. I mean, no, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I still don't believe it.
And then, Charlie, and that's a great point, Charlie. And here's what people do to try to justify that. They bring up the case of Vern Gagne, who was 95 years old in an old age home, suffering from dementia.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, as Mike Murphy will tell you, your brain works on muscle memory. Okay? Doesn't matter how old you are. Vern Gagne was a professional wrestler since he was 18 years old. Here he is now 95. He killed a guy in the old age home. He got into a fight with a guy. He snapped in his brain. But this 95-year-old man killed another guy because he just couldn't help it. His muscle memory kicked into gear, and he choked him out like a wrestling chokehold.
Oh, wow.
He did.
But that was dementia. That was Alzheimer's dementia. Chris didn't have that.
Exactly.
Right.
But they said he had the brain of an 85-year-old. Well, let's be honest. If Vern was 95 and Chris was a 40-year-old guy with an 85-year-old brain, there's a disconnect on there some level, brother.
Big time. Yeah.
Big time. Mike Murphy, talk to me about muscle memory. Where's the disconnect?
There really isn't one.
Explain, please, Mike.
Well, they've had amnesia patients where they can't remember their name, and they'll say, "Here, write your name on this," and just out of muscle memory, they'll take the pen, and they'll write their name.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm glad you said that.
Like Tony Bennett, he's getting that really bad stuff now. When he gets in front of a crowd, he remembers every line, every chord.
Exactly.
Everything.
Oh, yes.
Tony Bennett remembers. He's 95, 96 years old. This guy, he may look into the lights, but I got news for you. And you're absolutely right, Charlie. He remembers every word to every song he ever sung since the beginning of his career.
Yes, he does.
And he's still singing like with Lady Gaga.
Oh, absolutely. And still doing albums to this day. Still doing another album as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love him, man. I
In
love
his
him.
90s.
Yeah.
Look at Tom Jones is 83 years old. He's 83 years old and still remembers the first song he ever recorded and can still sing it. It's muscle memory. It comes back to you.
Oh, yeah.
So, this is crazy. We are 9 o'clock at night on the East Coast. It's 6 o'clock in California, LA right now. In the middle of the country, nobody knows because there's a whole lot of middle of the country.
8 o'clock here in northern Minnesota.
Where time's in Minnesota, Charlie?
It's 8 o'clock here on Red Lake Reservation, northern Minnesota. We're 70 miles away from
at Red Lake Reservation.
Yep.
Well, Charlie's on the reservation there. Big a Native American community, huge Native American community. Charlie, didn't they just have in the last several months had a big election out there?
Yes. I helped the chairman get reelected again.
Beautiful. Good
Great
for you.
guy.
Beautiful, brother.
Yeah, and talking about dementia, the reason I'm up here right now is my mom is 84 and she's getting dementia. Her immediate memory is not good, but her long-term memory is spot on from when she's a little girl on. So I'm here staying with her. My family, they're all working. They don't have the time to be with my mom 24 hours a day like I do. And my daughter is on the streets in Minneapolis on fentanyl, and I'm scared to death every day. And it's hard. I don't need to just throw that out there, but that's what I'm dealing with right now. So
No,
I got to
listen,
be here for Mom.
I'm glad you did, because we have friends on this show who can help.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
We got a lot of doctors on this show. In fact, we just had Dr. Anthony Tobia here. We also had Dr. Ellie Diani here, who will be with us again shortly.
Yeah.
That reminds me, Amelia, I need to tell you something off air.
Yes.
But is she part of a cult? Do you know of?
No, she's just done that damn shit, man. And I the day she was born, as I was shaking hands with Ted Turner's lawyers, getting my $130,000 they owed me. I shouldn't have to do that. As I was shaking hands, that's when she was born. That day, I put away $30,000 for her when she's 20, and that was 7 years ago, and that's what started this whole flipping mess,
Oh, so it was the money.
Yeah.
Too much money, too young.
Yeah. I thought I was doing the right thing,
Brother, that's an old story. There was a guy, you remember, Freddie Prinz.
Yeah.
Freddie Prinz. Too much, too soon, man.
Mm-hmm.
Whose son was actually a writer at one time for WWE.
Exactly.
Really? Wow.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah, Freddie Prinze Jr. actually did write for WWE.
Talented guy.
Yeah.
And we brought up concussions and all. And it's one thing I wanted to bring up that Charlie and I, both being veterans of the ring, that we've had is concussions.
Of course.
And referring to Chris Benoit, when you get a concussion, when you get a head injury, especially one in the ring during a match, you either call, as we put it, call Tater, and they put up the X sign that you're hurt, or you suck it up and you go on with the match until the match is over. And then when you get backstage, you get looked at by the doc.
Well, I got a back concussion one time. I was working with Sheik Adnan and El Casey, who was wonderful. It was my fault, really. He stopped me a little too hard on my slam. I do not remember the rest of the match, the rest of the day. I just woke up at home. I guess I was functioning all right. Nobody knew, but I'm like, I don't remember. How did I get home? That was
that's
a bad
the
one.
thing. It's exactly what we were talking about, Charlie, just a moment ago. That muscle memory.
Yeah.
That muscle memory kicks in.
I don't know how
It's a strange thing. It's so weird how it happens. You know what, Amelia? We may have to bring Dr. Tobia back on to explain muscle memory.
I would think that would be a good idea. A good segment.
He's a great psychiatrist.
I had one, Angelo. It was during a match. I got hit with a kendo stick.
Ow.
Ooh, wow, that hurt.
And I remember hearing the thwack noise of it hitting me. I remember waking up the next morning at home. I have no memory of the rest of the match, getting changed, getting paid, getting in my car, and driving home. And where the arena was a good half hour to 45-minute drive from my home. And I have
Can I ask you a question?
No memory of it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Were you with Charlie Thunderfoot Norris that night?
Well, now, Dino, Charlie's been ducking me for a long time now.
I've been ducking you.
First of all,
they probably drove each other home and not know it.
I don't know about who's ducking who.
Yeah, right.
I was scared.
Both of you fuckers are too old to be thinking about wrestling again.
Never.
We still got a good one left in us.
No, you don't. You're done. Forget it. You're
The
done.
Hall of Fame wrestling match. I can see it now.
You are so done. Please,
I'm done, man.
you are done. I'll tell you what. This was a great show, man. That was a 2-hour show tonight. That
Wow.
was fast.
Wow.
2 hours. And you know what, you guys? Here's the strange thing about it. We're no fucking closer now than when we started.
No, because there's still a lot of unanswered questions.
Well,
too,
those pictures told me something else about that.
And that's
blood in the
what I was
plastic.
hoping.
I didn't know that.
Here's what I was hoping somebody would say. I was actually hoping Murphy would say this. That's all? 4 pictures, that's all?
Well, I think that was pretty much a gathered thought when you said there was only 4 pictures.
Yeah, well, but I didn't. Somebody should have jumped all over me on that one. Because here's the thing, like you said, Mike, you know, there should have been 15 or 20 rolls. I would have thought
there would have been more
of
than
film.
That. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, you should have used up every gigabyte on your cell phone taking fucking pictures.
Here's another question. Was there any blood type analysis done at the scene or done on the public blood?
No, they never fucking took a blood sample. Don't you understand? Listen to what I'm telling you. People, I swear to you, I'm not making this up. I'm looking at the paperwork right here. Amelia and I have talked about this. The Fayetteville Police Department in Georgia, a fine group of guys, but bless their hearts, they've never had this level of celebrity before. Okay? They were ill-prepared, unaccustomed to the media hype and the frenzy of press that descended upon Fayetteville, Georgia, because there were news from all around the world descended on that small town of Fayetteville. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's not a big city. It's a big town, if you want to call it that. But it's not like New York or Knoxville. It's Fayetteville, Georgia. It's a suburb of Atlanta. You know?
Yeah.
People don't get it. That this is like, you know, small, like kind of small, quaint living.
Yeah, we get it. It's small.
Yeah. The problem is the police department's also very small. And they were ill-prepared and way ill-equipped to deal with this level, this frenzy of press, the scrutiny. They didn't have the experience. Mike, think about this, Charlie. They had this wrapped up in 9 days.
No. That's what I'm saying. Maybe that's what whoever did it was counting on.
And I get that, and I have a real good suspect in that regard. Go to Stamford, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had to have known somebody in the police department to make it just close in 9 days.
You know who he knows in the police department? Benjamin Franklin, Ulysses S. Grant, Andrew Jackson.
Oh, definitely.
Kabish.
A few of those, definitely.
Kabish. Oh, I'll tell you what, fellas and ladies, it's been a hell of a show. Like it's like they said the other night, a hella show, baby. It's a hella show. Well, I'll tell you what, Charlie Norris, promote whatever you're doing, brother.
Right on, brother. I got it. Love you guys, man. Thank you.
You are quite welcome, brother. And I want to say something while we're still on the air. I have been a horrible friend, Charlie, because I haven't talked to you in damn near a year. But as soon as we said, can you come on, you jumped right on board.
Yes, thank you for that. We appreciate that.
I have been a shitty friend. First of all, it's been a bad year for me. I lost my dad in January.
Oh, yeah.
He was in bad health, you know, starting from like Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it's been, you know, I'm going that November will be a year that he started really like going downhill. And then, you know, January coming, he'll be gone a year. It's crazy to think that he's almost been gone a year in January. So and I've had so much going on.
Yeah.
And, but thank you, brother. I love you. Thank you for coming back. Mike Murphy, promote.
Yes. You can find me on Facebook. I have recently become the president of talent and development for Superstar Wrestling.
All right. Right on, man.
I bought into the company And
leave Charlie Norris alone.
Book me.
I said, leave Charlie Norris alone.
Well, that's not totally out of the question. I'll be contacting Charlie soon.
You can contact him for a guest appearance. I'm his booking agent.
I'm
in
sorry,
charge
we got
of how
a bad
much he makes.
connection there. We got a bad
Amelia's
connection
my
there,
agent.
Angelo. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah,
He's
I
gonna
know.
make
Go
a
ahead,
lot
man.
of money that night.
Well, I'll do it for free. Just to
I'm
come
No,
gonna
see
no free. No.
I'm going to get Charlie a payday, man.
No free.
You
A
know,
lot of zeros in it.
I would take care of Charlie. No
I know
problem.
it.
No
I know
problem, bro.
Well,
Anytime.
it's not a bad idea, Mike. Why don't you fly Charlie out and he could do meet and greet and do autographs and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, see, there we go again. We got that connection again.
Yeah.
Special guest referee.
We better do it soon. I'm gonna be 59 years old next month.
Brother, I'm 64, okay? You're just a kid.
Well, I'll tell you what, Charlie. I am definitely going to be contacting you.
Okay, my man. Thank you.
Look at
And
all the
one
gray.
thing I wanted to say about, let me say this, and this comes from the heart about Charlie Norris. One of the easiest working guys in the ring, one of the greatest guys outside of the ring, and just an all-around super guy.
Absolutely. Here's one before we go. I got a general wrestling question. Why do many wrestlers die relatively young, as opposed to other sports like the NFL, NBA, where the majority of the old timers from 40, 50 years ago are still alive? Why is that, Charlie, Mike? You want to either one of you guys want to take that?
Mostly because the steroid abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse.
Yep.
The schedule
for the generation where they were dying young.
Yeah, you know what? Charlie brought up a good point. The schedule. Here's what I think, Charlie. Yeah. Here's what I think, Charlie and Mike. I think they die young because they don't know how to work right.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you guys, Murph, you're near 60. Charlie, you're near 60. Your guys are still in relatively good health because you worked smart.
Yeah.
These guys are doing, triple somersault flips on fire from the top rope, and they want to know how come they don't live past 30 or 40.
Yeah.
Well, how about the idiot that jumped off the second floor balcony of a shopping mall into a ring, and his father was the fucking promoter?
Oh my God.
That's a good one. I would love to have been a fly on the wall in that dressing room meeting when he said, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to do a double flip off the top of the second balcony of the mall." Oh, that's a great idea, son. I would, first of all, beat the dog snot out of any promoter who even acknowledged that as a suggestion. And if you came to me and you're working for me, pack your bag and go home, mama.
Yeah.
Murphy knows. I've sent people home. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, yeah.
I don't.
It's only
give
a matter of
rat
time
shit.
before someone gets really, really bad hurt, man. It's
I'll tell you what. Too much. Amelia,
Yes, sir.
what do we got coming up, kid?
We got that red, white, and blue and screw you episode coming up next Tuesday. And we're going to have Charlie on there as well. And Michael Murphy, you're going to join us as well?
As far as I know, I will be there.
Perfect.
Yep.
And then you guys, the 21st, you're going to be interviewing Alan Azwig, the Jewish director, Angelo.
What's that?
You're going to be interviewing the Jewish director on the 21st as well.
Yep.
Just doing him one-on-one.
What's the buzz? Breaking news.
And
that's our new one. We got breaking news here.
There we go. And on 22nd,
our October schedule is going to be loaded from front from asshole to appetite, from front to back, with everything you wanted to know about cults, but we're afraid to ask. We're going to do Waco, Jonestown, Charlie Manson, the Branch Davidians, Heaven's Gate, the Love Has One cult. We're going to do the Church of Scientology.
Oh, yes.
We're going to open up the door to all of these cults. Charlie, you want to join us? You're more than welcome to join us for that too, bro.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, Amelia, make sure you get with Mike
Absolutely.
and Charlie.
Mhm.
Okay. So I will be November. I will be September 21st doing a solo special episode with film director Alan Zweig, whose credits include, among other things. Oh my God. I gotta go now here and look. Oh no, I don't. Fuck it. His puppy is called When Jews Were Funny. Look, Alan Zweig, Zwieg, Alan Zweig, an amazing film director. And I'll tell you what. And Slaw says, what about the MAGA cult? No, brother, I love that cult. We're going to talk about that too. But we have a hell of a show coming up, a hell of a week coming up, and October is going to be a bang up month before November. For Charlie Thunderfoot Norris, for Michael Armageddon Murphy, for Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman, I'm Angelo, Mad Dog DeCipio. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Good night, everyone.